Before the video begins, if you like what I do and want to support me in a more personal way, consider joining me on Patreon. Members get exclusive perks for just £3 a month. Link in the description.
For the longest time that I've been building with LEGO, it has always been train related. Over the years, I've had a lot of fun making my own custom models and even took steps to make my own layouts back in January of 2021. As the years went on, the layouts grew, evolved, sometimes changed entirely, but I had a great time playing with them. However, in July of 2023, I decided I needed a break from it, and I have spent a good chunk of time enjoying the car side of the LEGO hobby. But as you saw with the title and thumbnail of this video, I'm here to declare that the layout is back, and this is part 1 of my new grand vision. This is going to be a grand compilation of sorts, where I'm going to be showcasing a lot of work in progress pictures and videos that I have taken over the weeks that I was making this layout. There is a hell of a lot to talk about and showcase, so let's dive right in. Every layout has to start somewhere, so eventually I got started using a lot of spare parts that I kept aside since my last main layout. For this particular section of the layout I was going to be making, it is narrow gauge focused, and I wanted it to sit on mills plates. And for the greenery on top, rather annoyingly, it was much easier and frankly a little bit cheaper to use a bunch of green 4x4 plates instead of getting 16x16s. You will have also noticed a small cutout at the front centerpiece. This is to act as a space for a waterfall to go to the lower section of my future layout, but I will get onto that later. After a few evenings of tireless, non-stop, repetitive work, my 3 main boards were done. I need to be able to store this layout in boxes, but I don't want to break it down into too many small sections. This narrow gauge layout overall is 6x3, 32x32 base plates. So these 3 sections are 3x2, 32x32 baseplate rectangles. So now it's time to get the track laid down, and thankfully I had tried narrow gauge stuff before, so all the track was already ballasted and had all the sleepers applied. However, there was something else to consider with the track, and something that I was surprisingly not hesitant to do. So my grand vision for this narrow gauge layout is that it will sit on top of a bunch of pillars, with a rock wall in front and below it to represent a narrow gauge railway in the mountains. The larger problem I wanted to solve immediately was connecting these 3 baseboards together. But as I was thinking about this, I had a vision in me collapsing the layout as I was trying to set this on its pillars. Having to connect the track pieces could be really finicky depending on how you set up your layout. So I decided to try something. Something I've seen model railway makers do is take off any connection points between the track on baseboards. So they would kind of just sit next to each other but not really be connected. The narrow gauge track pieces I'm using are all 3D printed. So if I modify these, I don't feel like I'm committing any kind of purity crimes or anything like that. So I got my Dremel out and I got to work. So what I did was trim off all of the connecting pins on the track pieces that will face the edges of the baseboards. This will allow me to put these baseboards next to each other without having to actually connect any of the track. After trimming down 8 pieces of track, they were all finally put into place, and this is how they would connect. There's nothing actually putting them together. It would just be 2 smooth surfaces pressed up against each other. But to absolutely make sure, I took my model of Skarloey and ran it over the track. No derailments, no problems. So with the track itself now sorted, it's time to lay down the ballast. The straight tracks were really easy because it's just a bunch of plates. The curves were a bit more tedious, but even then it wasn't really that much. You just got to follow the edge of the curved track pieces, get some tiles down, and hey presto, you're done. As previously mentioned, there is a cutout in the middle baseboard. This is going to be for a waterfall, and I did have a few ideas for a bridge. For now, I've gone with a simple stone pattern bridge. I'm not quite certain yet, but for now this is going to be a stand-in. For ballasting the curves, I set down all the tiles on one side and had to mirror that on the other. Once that was all done, the curved track pieces were in place, and there we go. The track is all laid out. So it's time to make some scenery, and what else can happen first but a station? and the platform obviously has to come first. Amazingly, I had some spare pieces from an old home layout I had from back in the day. This platform is basically what is left of that, so I put it straight on. You will have noticed I put a siding next to the station. This is because I want to have an engine here to refuel between trips. I have made a small coal bunker for the locomotive to actually get its coal from somewhere. And of course I need a water tower too. I'm going to be making 2 large rectangular pillars using a lot of 1x2 plates to represent a brick tile effect. 2 of these pillars were made, along with a base for them to actually sit on, and onto the layouts they go. Nothing too close to the siding, but nothing so far away either. There's always the possibility I might move these in the future, but for now, I think this is a good place for them. The platform that I first put down was obviously way too small, so it has an extension on one side of the baseboards. Inside the ticket booth is a tiny bit of detail with a worker and a small desk with a computer to be able to print out the tickets. The roof tile effect was accomplished by using a lot of cheese slopes. Now passengers need to be able to access the platform, and I had this great idea of a nice big footpath with a rock wall behind it on this side of the layout. You will see more on that later on. Having mentioned that some of this station is recycled from an old layout, I was able to find a canopy, so that got placed right on. And I also decided to work more on the middle of the layout. I keep going on about this waterfall. Well, the water has to come from somewhere, so it's time to put in a pond. So you likely will have seen a big chunk of pieces removed from the middle baseboard just before that cutout. That is for the pond. Because this is based on mills, I can introduce some depth into this small narrow gauge layout. Previous layouts have all been at base plate level, which means adding on something like a pond meant I had to build up. But for the first time, I had the opportunity to build downwards, and this looked much better. Before I went further with the pond, I got this top part of the water tower done and out the way first. I also filled it in with water and it looks lovely and full. This design is based on fellow LUKR member Jamie Ellis. I did have a small visual idea in having a pipe go from the water tower into the pond, but I did also like the idea that this layout isn't going to be perverting the nature it's surrounded by, so for now at least, that idea has been put on hold. The layout was really starting to come together. I had a bit of fun with the photography. Okay, enough distractions, let's get back to the pond. So I did have one particular idea with the pond, in that I wanted it to be a little bit swampy. It would look a little out of place compared to how cute and green everything else is, but I had a lot of tall grass pieces I wanted to use, and that kind of stuck around in my mind. Over the years of building layouts, one category of parts in particular that I really collected were plant pieces. So with a massive stash of plants in different shapes and colours, this became exciting. When I took part in Gert Lug's Brick Express show in 2024, I made a very hastily put together layout with a small idea for how I wanted to do this pond. But the idea was there. There's a small pond, there would be lots of greenery around it, but I'm not going to keep the wall and it's going to be at ground level. Before I touched any of the plant's life, I made sure to get all the transparent blue tiles down first. Any awkward 1x1 stud spaces were filled in with some green stud pieces, and that only allowed more opportunities to create some more overgrown wildlife. Now then, let's play with these. This is exactly what I had in mind with the marshy idea for the pond. Loads of tall grass pieces in the centre and surrounding the pond as a way of nature protecting the small animals that live there. Amongst all the pieces I had stashed away from previous layouts were some tiny animal pieces, some butterflies, some pink frogs, and a recent visit to the LEGO store showed that on the Build a Minifigure wall was a tiny little hermit crab style creature. So I grabbed a couple of them with some minifigures, and they now have a space on this pond as well. All of the tall grass pieces are in place, and that is the immediate area for the pond done. The overall effect and visual styling for the pond has come together exactly as I hoped. I am so happy with this. Also within my stash of parts were these 3-leaf plant pieces. And I may as well mention the fact I have loads of these tiny green leaf pieces too. Everybody has a mountain of these, and I'm going to be putting these small leaf pieces in the little areas where some of the larger grass pieces can't reach, as a way of filling in any dead space. It is very easy to put these particular leaf pieces close to each other, have all the leaves stack, and close off any dead space. This helps to make a very realistic visual for your plant's life. I just kept stacking on these plant pieces, making sure to fill in as much dead space as I could. I also made sure not to go over the edge of the baseboard to reduce any kind of interference. And that is the layout so far. It has been really exciting to put it all together. I absolutely loved making this pond. As I was making more city scene pieces with the car side of things, I knew I had the skills to be able to make some more detailed scenery. And to do it with some plants and to make this pond in the way that this layout has been coming together, it was so satisfying. I also made sure to clear a space to put down a little bench for people to have a picnic. There are some signs and some flags that were put there as well, but this ultimately got changed around because the placement of the bench being here frankly didn't make any sense. And that is all for now, folks. I regret to say that is going to be the end of this video. It's surprising how long this video got, but we are only 1/3 of the way through all of the pictures and videos I took for the work in progress of this layout. So if anything, there are going to be 2 more episodes for the work in progress of this narrow gauge layout. It is a shame I haven't been able to squeeze this all into one video, as I genuinely didn't think it would be this long. I know that a lot of people have been excited to see this layout on the channel, and I've been very excited to show this layout to you all, because this has been a long time in the making. So thank you all ever so much for watching. If you want to support me in a more personal way, consider joining me on Patreon. If you are interested in joining, there is a link in the description. Thank you for watching, folks. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye bye.